DMZ between South Korea and North Korea. I mean, come on. What commander-in-chief?
Did you see where he said, oh, communism's terrible. It's like it's frozen in time. Well, he's bringing in fascism where they communalize our wealth and then steal it to these mega banks.
Exactly. Look, we haven't had a commander-in-chief in this country since Dwight D. Eisenhower. I mean, little Georgie Bush playing commander-in-chief. Any of these guys that want to call themselves commanders-in-chief, get on the white horse and lead the charge or shut your mouth. Like they're doing to this guy Bales, this poor guy. You know, I don't know what happened over there in Afghanistan, but if we're going to have a murder trial, let's start with Bush and Cheney and all those Congress people that voted for the war and sent them over there. You want to have a murder trial? Let's have a war trial, war crimes tribunal for the people that are prosecuting this war.
I agree. You want to invade Uganda to get the imaginary Coney? How about we arrest Bush and Cheney and all the rest of them right now? Absolutely. Gerald Celente is our guest. We're going to jam in a few phone calls. Your quick questions, 800-259-9231. Stay with us. We've got Webster Tarpley joining us at 15 after next hour for 45 minutes to cover a host of important issues. But when we start the next hour, we'll do that short segment and then one part of the next, taking your phone calls. For Gerald Celente, Mike, James, Mojo, Carol, and Shane. We'll have time to take 5 calls, your quick questions for Gerald Celente. But I wanted to raise the point here that analyzing this, historically, the elite have a plan to control us, but they don't have a plan, the kleptocrats, to control themselves, because none of the crooks can tattle on the other one because they've all got dirt on each other. Now the stealing is out in the open. What I'm seeing, what I'm getting from high-level sources is, for 5 years, there's been a snatching and a grabbing, that they're just looting things now and planning to leave the country. But they're going to leave us behind with a police state that they think is going to do a rear guard action from anybody ever going after them. And that's why they're getting away with all this craziness. But Ruger, in just a few months, sold over 1 million guns. They're a 1 million+ back order right now. All the other gun manufacturers, I go to gun stores now, and half their shelves are bare. The ammo's gone. The American people are buying around 5 million guns a month now. Everyone I talk to knows the government's criminal and has a line in the sand. You try to put me in a work brigade, you try to forcibly inoculate me, you come on my property. People are getting to the point, the system thinks they're wimps. They're actually just very sad and desperate. I don't think the bureaucracy, Gerald, realizes that they're going to stick their arm in a bear trap and that this country is on the edge. Because if you've got 200 million gun owners, 1% fights back, that's 2 million combatants. And the government's gearing up for war. But all the drones, all the fancy equipment is not going to stop people. I mean, if you got 2 million people to fight back, all they got to do is go find one bureaucrat, one globalist. It's game over. And I'm not, again, I don't want it to go there, but I'm telling the globalists, don't start a fight you can't back up. Gerald Celente.
Well, Alex, that's all they ever do is start fights that they keep losing. These are psychopaths. Was Vietnam a nice one that they started for fake reasons? Oh, let's go back to Korea. I forgot that one. How about that lovely Iraq war? You remember that one, because Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. Afghanistan? Hey, Alexander the Great couldn't win. The British got their behind kicked. Well, Russians got thrown out. Their empire collapsed. But George W. Bush and Dick Cheney and the rest of the little creeps out there, they were going to start another winter. How about the beauty Obama started over there in Libya? That's now a civil war. Oh, did you read today? The United States is sending help to the Syrian rebels. Oh, non-lethal. What rebels? Who are they? What I'm saying, Alex, you have people that are deranged. They don't look at the consequences. So yes, they're going to start this. And yes, they believe they can enslave us all. And by the way, I want to make this official announcement. Regardless of who wins in November, I, Gerald Celente, demand the cabinet position of Secretary of Trends and Consequences so that we can look at what you're doing and how it's going to end up, because they never do that.
No, 9 out of 10 reactors, most of them 40 years old, are now leaking, and their answer is, because the radiation eats holes in everything, just raise the level and say it's safe. Just like 20 years ago they wouldn't let troops use DU, now they do. I mean, it's true. The elite are not in control, folks. They're crazy people.
Alex Jones.
Again, throughout history, elites think they're in control. They don't get challenged when they commit a bunch of crimes. They go hog wild crazy. And we're now entering that level where Corzine openly perjures himself, steals money, and doesn't get in trouble. And the corporate whore media goes along with it. Mike in California, you're on the air with Gerald Celente. Go ahead.
Thank you, Gerald. Thank you for your fervor and your voice. I have 2 quick questions. One, with the possibility of a unconstitutionally declared war in Iran, perhaps, it seems like now would be a key point for the American people to demand the impeachment of a president that would declare a next war without the vote of Congress. And
how about they declare the corporate whore media cover the fact that an impeachment proceeding's begun? What's the second question?
Second question for Gerald was, how would a voter protest work?
Okay, Gerald?
Well, again, you know, the impeachment proceedings have, as Alex said, already begun, but the media is not covering them. I personally don't think they'll go anywhere, not in enough time for the election. How would it would be a strike. We call a voter's strike. We're not going out as self-respecting people with dignity and courage and integrity to cast our ballot for a lesser of 2 evils. We want a rerun. We want to start this process all over again. We don't like the creeps that you put
so it's
up
a no
there
confidence
to
vote.
Represent us.
It's saying none of the above. You like going to a dealership, they got 2 junky cars. You don't want either one.
Stay home. Stay home. A voter's strike that we should not even waste our time to buy into their criminal system. As you pointed out, Alex, the game is rigged anyway. The voter fraud's everywhere. We know who controls.
So you're saying it's time to really declare that in most national level, it is a fraud. Quit playing along with it. And instead of just not voting, people are already doing a voter strike for decades. Let people know and go out the week of the election and everybody protest, not even against, just saying there's no election, there's election fraud, it's all a scam. I think that's a good idea. I'm going to get behind you on that. Let's develop a plan on that. James in Texas, let's call their bluff. James in Texas, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hello, Alex. Gerald, I'm a fan of both your work. Alex, I've listened to your show for 10 years since I was in college, and you really inspire me.
Thank you.
I've got quite a strange story involving Goldman Sachs and Freemasons and a tie-in. I know you're from Dallas. I'm from the family that owned the Times-Herald and KRLD back in the day.
That's Below, right?
Below bought up all their assets.
Yeah.
And, closed down, print and all that, and KRLD is now WFAA. But anyway, when all that happened, when the buyout occurred and all that, my family became very wealthy. They already were, but it kind of quadrupled their wealth. And the bulk of that wealth was managed at Goldman Sachs. Well, about 3 years ago, my aunt, who was the current standing matriarch of my family, came down with Alzheimer's, and it took a toll pretty quickly. And once Goldman Sachs got wind of this, $9 million mysteriously disappeared out of her net worth. Well, she had Alzheimer's, so she wasn't really all there to do anything about it or even think about it, really. And so I had a cousin who had her power of attorney and was the executor of her estate. And he started investigating this. And
you know what, sir? I'd like to, if this is true, I'd like to have you on as a guest sometime. We're almost out of time, but let me talk to you during the break. But we'll come back and get Gerald's take on what's going on. I mean, this sounds like par for the course. I know so many people that are in the stock market who have money in accounts or stocks, and they just rob their clients. I mean, you've got the Goldman Sachs guy going public saying they do that to their customers. Okay, if you just joined us, Gerald Celente is with us for about 7-8 more minutes. We'll take some more calls here. And we were just taking a call from a gentleman who was saying that Goldman Sachs took money away from his grandmother that they were managing. I don't know about that case, Gerald, but what do you think of the report of one of their presidents, one of their top guys, quitting, as you know, 2 weeks ago and saying that they have distaste for their customers, that they're there to rip them off, they call them Muppets. I mean, this is really another bird's eye view into the mindset we're dealing with, Gerald.
We've been saying this, since it began. You've heard me say it. If the names on Wall Street were named Celente, Caruso, Mondavi, Buccini, Rossini, they call it the mafia. But you're not allowed to call the financiers crooks or criminals. I'd like to read you something from the Financial Times. Quote, as Mr. Corzine testified before Congress, he asked that the overdrafts with J.P. Morgan be corrected, said Stephen Goldberg, a spokesman for Mr. Corzine. Quote, he never directed Miss O'Brien or anyone else regarding which account should be used to cure the overdrafts, and he never directed that customer funds should be used for that purpose. Now, that's legalese crap, Goldberg. Let's make this really straight. They're in a crisis situation. They need $200 million really fast, and they don't have it. Where are they getting it from? You don't need Sherlock Holmes to figure this one out. You go to clients like me and steal their money, Goldberg. So save it, Goldberg. Tell it to Anderson Cooper 180. Don't tell it to me. You're full of crap. They're $200 million short. They know where they were getting the money. This is a lot of baloney. And they get away with it. And you know why they get away with it? I'll tell you why they get away with it. Because they're all better than we are. They go to Harvard. They go to Princeton. Don't you know who their father was? Hey, don't say anything bad about George Bush. His mother will start getting down your back. It's all a club, and everybody out there, get it straight. You're not in it. And no matter what you do, you're never going to get in it.
All right,
because they don't want you in it. Because then they got to cut the piece of the pie up more. How can a bunch of crap spewing out of Goldberg's fat mouth make it into the media? $200 million. They can't find the money. Where did it come from? Where the hell do you think it came from? Get $200 million. We're going under. I don't care how you get it. That's the real story.
Well, expanding on that, we played the clip of